What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. Before we get into anything today, I do want to let you know that we will be live streaming this week tomorrow night at 7 p.m. to watch the Red Sox game. I took last week off. I wasn't feeling super well. We're feeling a lot better this week, so we are doing this live stream. If you haven't stopped by one yet, they are a ton of fun, so make sure you guys head on over there. Again, that is tomorrow night, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern time. Anyways, on to today's video. And we knew this was going to happen at some point, right? The Red Sox weren't going to win every single series for the rest of the year. And after winning 4 series in a row, the Red Sox lose their series to the Baltimore Orioles 2-3 after a brutal loss last night. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about everything that happened in this Orioles series, what went right, what went wrong, and how we can still right this ship, because it can still get righted. But before I get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well. It is the best way to help out this channel, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. So we're actually going to do this series recap a little bit differently this week. Normally I would do offense as a whole and then pitching as a whole, but there was so much that went on in this series because it was a 5-game series that we're going to break this into wins and losses, the good and the bad. And we're going to start with the good because the Red Sox still won 2 games in this series. In the first game, Nathan Eovaldi took the hill and he threw the first complete game of his career, which is actually pretty surprising to me because it feels like every time he's out on the mound, he's throwing a complete game. But regardless, he went all 9 innings, struck out 6, and only allowed 3, which is a pretty good performance in my eyes. He's still getting bit by that home run bug a little bit. He let up a 2-run shot at some point in this game, which is definitely still a problem, but overall a pretty good performance and a W for Nathan Eovaldi. As for the second game they won, it was game 4, and Nick Pivetta took them out in that game, who continues to have a really solid last couple of starts. He has, in my opinion, completely turned his personal season around. He went 6 innings, struck out 5, and only allowed 1. As for the offense in this series, it was definitely really up and down. This was the part of the team that had the highest highs and the lowest lows. As for the wins, especially in Nick Pivetta's game, they were insane. In Nick Pivetta's game, it was a home run parade. You had home runs by Bobby Dahlbeck, which is a great sign because he also had a home run in the other win of this series, and him getting his home run ball back to where it was last year is huge for this Red Sox team. You had Franchy Cordero, who hit a home run. It was the longest home run of the season so far for the Red Sox. He also had a double in that game, and Franchy Cordero is hitting really well right now. Rafael Devers had a home run in the game, and of course he did. He also had a couple of games where he legged out some really great doubles, so he's again looking fantastic at the plate. In my opinion, the best hitter in baseball. Christian Arroyo had one, and he's starting to heat up a little bit at the plate. Still definitely a weak spot in terms of offense, but the fact that he's putting balls over the fence recent games is a very good sign. And Kike Hernandez also had a home run in this game. That was 5 separate home runs in one singular game, and Kike had a hitting streak of 11 going into the final game of the series. He ended up snapping it, but an 11-game hitting streak, a couple of doubles in this series, a couple of RBI singles in this series, a home run in this series is exactly what we've been looking for from Kike Hernandez as a leadoff hitter, and hopefully that continues. Christian Vasquez also continues to swing it really well, and he's really close to being one of the hottest hitters in baseball right now. He had multiple doubles, multiple singles, multiple RBIs, and he's now batting over 300 for the year. So Christian Vasquez is definitely an understated part of this Red Sox lineup right now. JD Martinez is definitely appropriately overstated part of this offense right now. He continues to swing a super hot bat and be the hottest hitter in baseball, at least average wise. He had a couple of singles, a couple of doubles. He was getting walks. He was an on-base machine. The only thing missing from JD Martinez's game right now is his home run ball, which we all know he can do. So once he turns that on, he's going to be an absolute menace to society. Another guy I want to highlight is Xander Bogaerts, who's kind of been missing from these series recaps in the last couple of series. He hasn't done a whole lot. Well, in this series, he did a lot. He had a 3-run homer in game 1, which we will definitely get to in a second. He also had a multi-double game, a multi-hit game. So he's sort of coming back around, which is a perfect timing in my opinion. And JBJ is the last guy I want to highlight on the offense, because in these wins he had RBIs in both. He also had doubles in both, and JBJ is hitting over 300 at Fenway Park. He looks fantastic at the plate right now for someone who I think we all expected nothing from at the beginning of this year. If the series ended on that note, you guys would be super happy. I would be super happy. This sounds like a competitive, put together team. But unfortunately, those were only 2 out of the 5 games, so let's talk about the other 3. I think when we're going to talk about the losses of this series, we have to start with the worst loss of them all, and that is Game 1, which in all reality completely shifted the entirety of this series. If they end up securing Game 1, we have an entirely different video on today's channel, but they didn't, because after the 6th inning of this first game, Garrett Whitlock had 4 strikeouts and only gave up 2 runs. The Red Sox had 8 runs after that 6th inning. It was 8-2 after the 6th inning, but the bullpen completely implodes. And I'm not talking about just Brazier and Barnes and the normal suspects for when you blow games. No, it was Schreiber who gave up a couple, Strahm gave up 3, Diekman gave up a couple. Guys who normally have really great outings did not in this first game. They ended up giving the lead back, and the Red Sox lose 12-8 in this first game of the series. And the bullpen right now is, if you're going to be concerned about anything, this is where your concerns should lie. Normally, if this were to happen, it would be just a bad outing by the bullpen, right? That's gonna happen during the season. You're gonna have bad outings from guys who are normally nails. But unfortunately, because of the rest of the series, this was really the deciding game. And I don't really know what should be done in this case, to be honest with you. It's not Barnes, it's not Brazier, it's not these normal suspect guys who you can be like, oh, it should have been DFA'd a while ago, should have been optioned a while ago. When the rest of your bullpen starts falling apart, then you have a really big problem. Luckily, those guys continued to do well throughout the rest of the series. So in my opinion, one bad game, yes, it cost us a series, but it's not going to be a problem in the future, in my opinion. But there is one guy I do want to talk about, and that is Sawamura, who in that first game did have an earned run, but he also technically didn't have any earned runs in the final game of this series where they got blown out 10-0. But when he came in, he immediately let up 2 runs. He had a solid inning after that, but still to let up those 2 runs and really put the game on ice was a huge problem. And I just simply don't understand why Brazier and Sawamura made their way back up. I understand the move to bring a guy from Worcester back up because now Strahm is on the COVID IL, but the fact that it was Sawamura over some of these guys in the minor leagues who are performing much better and who should be genuinely given a shot at hopefully bolstering a little bit of this bullpen load would make a way more sense in my mind than bringing back Sawamura. So I don't really know what's going on with the bullpen. It was a really unfortunate game. They were pretty good throughout the rest of the series except for Game 4 where Barnes let up 3 runs and Sawamura just couldn't seal the deal. And speaking of Game 4, as for starting pitching in the rest of the series, it was pretty good. It's always been solid going throughout all of these recaps. The one not solid part of this rotation right now is Rich Hill, who in 4 innings allowed 6 runs in the finale of this series. And I think we kind of expected this all year from Rich Hill. And it's something that we haven't seen but have been slowly expecting, that when his stuff isn't there, he is not a good pitcher. And when it is there, he is a lights out pitcher. We saw for probably the first or second time this year, his stuff just simply not being there. Everything that was hit by the Orioles was hit super, super hard. As for the offense in the losses, they were pretty much non-existent except for that first game where they did their job perfectly. But in the second loss, they were down by 4 going into the 9th, get 2 runs, and then get the tying run at the plate and can't do anything. And obviously in the last game of the series, they're down 10-0, and they end up with 4 singular hits. And that's something that concerned me since the beginning of the year, which is consistency with this team. In this Orioles series, they were anything but consistent, and that is definitely a big concern going forward. Hopefully that does not become a pattern, but I do want to say, before you guys start typing out, I can't believe that the Red Sox couldn't beat the Orioles, this team is garbage, blah, 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 in my comment section, take a second and remember that this isn't the same Orioles team that we saw last year or the year before or even the year before that. This Orioles team has a great young core of players in their lineup that can hit balls, that can run the bases, that can field pretty well. And while their starting pitching isn't exactly fantastic, they have one of the league's best bullpens right now. So yes, they probably probably should have won this series, but no, a guaranteed sweep was never on the table. This Orioles team is actually fairly decent and better than their record shows. That being said, like I said, the Red Sox should have won this series, and we should be having a completely different video. And it all comes back to consistency. Does this derail the entirety of the season, this series loss? No, not at all. They still are facing the Reds coming up in a 2-game series. They're still facing the struggling Mariners. They're still facing the struggling A's, and they could still be pretty decently above 500 in the next couple of series, but it is definitely a concern that they aren't as consistent as they were in the last couple of weeks. Let me know what your thoughts are down below on this series. What did you think of this series in general? What do you think of the Red Sox in general right now? What are your thoughts on everything? Let me know down below. As always, if you've made it to the end of these videos, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said in the beginning of the video, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on these videos as well. It is the best way to help out this channel, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you. Shout out to the comment who said in the red seats instead of in the next one. It was absolutely genius, and I'm going to be using that from now on. So I will see you in the red seats.